Now, the fight against HIV in Africa and the world appears far from over. There's been a sharp increase in the number of infections, which are above targets set in 2020. A coalition put together by UNAIDS and partners has been tasked with discussing solutions and to help countries set ambitions for prevention targets. For more, we're joined by Dr. Hannah-Lisa Tetteh. Very good evening to you. Thank you so much for your time. Welcome to Newzroom Afrika. New HIV infections are rising in an alarming number of countries, a very big cause for concern. We know that looking at the impact and what's happened over the past few years, COVID-19 has also been cited as a cause for concern when it comes to monitoring HIV.
Yes, thank you very much for having me. Yes, it's very true. COVID-19 affects your immunity, it weakens your immune system, and then there's HIV, which also weakens your immune system by destroying your CD4 T cells. And so with the two of them coexisting, especially with COVID-19, it affected people's response to HIV. There were people who were even scared to go out to hospitals for their medications, and some of these things were the reasons for which COVID's existence with HIV caused an increase in the number of infections in certain countries.
And I suppose the big question is why the fail? Why does it seem like there's a regression instead of a progression when it comes to tackling HIV?
Yes, and I think that we used to make a lot of noise about it. I was recently having a discussion yesterday, a talk yesterday on HIV, and the questions that came was, so is there still HIV? Is it still prevalent? And I realized that we used to do a lot of advocacy when it came to HIV. There was the time that we would all attest that in all African countries, we used to make a lot of noise about HIV, take your antiretroviral drugs, but it came to a time that we stopped talking about it, and so people started thinking that there was no HIV. And also now, the people who take their antiretroviral drugs can get to undetectable levels of the virus in their blood, and so it made people get the false sense that they can actually live with it and live happily and there's really no problem, and so the false sense that HIV is gone. And when we let down our guard, that's one of the things that led to an increase in the numbers, I think.
So in terms of looking forward and tabling some ideas, I know UNAIDS has been very active in that space, gathering some experts to chart a way forward and really come to a point where there is an improvement and the number of HIV infections is reduced.
Yes, I think that we need to start like HIV is as persistent as we think it is. Now the numbers are rising, so we need to start our advocacy. We need to speak to people. We need to keep talking about HIV. Advocacy should go up. Information dissemination should go up. And now people are not taking their drugs. We just heard that there are shortages in certain countries. Luckily for my country, it's free and there hasn't been a recorded shortage. And so we need to appeal to the developed countries and the donor agencies to help make sure the antiretroviral drugs are available. And because when they are not available and those who are infected are not taking them, the disease progresses to AIDS, their immunity becomes weakened, and then it increases the spread. And so that's one of the very important things as well. We need to speak to people on the importance of prevention, because there's a lot of sexual promiscuity nowadays among the youth because of social media, information, and all of that. And so we need to still keep speaking against sexual promiscuity, the need to remain faithful, the need to protect yourself, and all the preventive measures that we used to make a lot of noise about.
Do you think in making a lot of noise that perhaps the messaging is not coming across to those who have been highlighted here within the report of the UNAIDS, showing that those between 15 to 24 years old, an adolescent girl or a young woman is now at huge risk when it comes to infection? Is it a problem of messaging, language, or perhaps that sort of messaging needs to change so that those within that cohort can begin to hear it?
So I think that some way, somehow, we shot ourselves in the foot in the sense that when we started with the advocacy, we wanted to take away the fear associated with HIV and the stigma associated with HIV. And so we were pushing the fact that you can live a full productive life even when you have HIV. And so the message came across very well. And the disadvantage of that kind of message is that now, because people think that you can live a very full and happy life with HIV, they have become very relaxed about it. Now they don't even care about getting it anymore because they know that you can take your medicines, get to undetectable levels. They know you can live a full and productive life even with the HIV. And so it's in the same messaging, but now the message has come across as something that is no longer scary. And so in our bid to take away the fear from HIV, now people are comfortable with the fact that they can have the disease and live comfortably with it. And so they are not preventing it anymore. Also, the very young people, the adolescents, I don't think that we're getting across to them because, as it is in Africa, we like to pretend that the adolescents are not having sex. And so we don't even have sex education with them. And so that's a challenge. Because we don't have sex education with them, they get this information from their colleagues and their friends. And their colleagues give them this information, and they obviously don't give them the right information. And so they are not guarded against HIV, other STDs or other STIs. And so I think the messaging was right, but now with changing times and changing response to the message, we also need to change our approach as well.
Very well. Thank you so much. Let's leave it there for now. Dr. Hannah-Lisa Tetteh, medical doctor, speaking on the HIV fight on the African continent.